Okay, everyone, welcome to Star Trek, our ongoing journey through the episodes of Star Trek. And we are continuing our summer of Voyager with Season 5, Episode 2's very own drone winner. Mulcahy. Yes, the very... Can we talk about him? How complete lack...
He deserved it.
I'm just going to go straight into this. But it's like the way Ensign Mulcahy... jumped into that, not even jumped, just walked into that science lab where everything was assimilated and just didn't even react, didn't emote. He just looked and just kind of went, how odd. Everything seems to be assimilated. What if I get my face really close to it?
This is that, like, that's the kind of, like, reaction that will get you a position on, like, Alien Covenant, not on the USS Voyager.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, so we've just watched Drone.
I think we reviewed a past Trek where someone did something equally dumb where, like, he deserved to die. Mulcahy deserved to... Wait, did they pronounce
he survived?
I don't know. He survived. Yeah,
okay.
He's alive.
Okay.
He's still alive in workforce, even. Like, he got out of that. Guess what, Mulcahy? He survived and Carey didn't. Now, there's justice for you.
Mulcahy?
Mulcahy?
Mulcahy. So this episode was
so dumb.
directed by Les Landau, who has just been all over Trek. He's done loads of Trek. So much stuff.
All right, I have to shout out, because this has been seared into my memory since we reviewed Time and Again from Season 1. Les Landau directed that abominable pile of garbage. And I think when we reviewed it, Isla, you said something like, yeah, it was a big surprise for someone as storied as him. And it's true because of episodes like this. He had, I won't say a light touch. It was a noticeable touch. Like he influenced, impacted the episode. My Bread is going to be one of the shots that he pulled off. We get, like I said, Geordi's been around for 7 seasons and how many movies? We see his visor inside his visor once. And we saw like the Borg point of view 3 times, muffled voices. Well, yeah, but twice in the walk and talk, and then when he's in the maturity chamber.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Geordi. You see his point of view twice.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a fake fan anyway. And then great stuff with the nebula expanding, like they did effects with the sphere crumpling and explosions. Like they just a lot of good visual
Voyager
stuff to feast on.
Being assimilated was just great. This was written.
Yeah, that belly shot was great.
Yeah, belly shot.
Which is not something I get to see very often.
Belly shot. Belly's going to get you. Written by Brandon Braga, Joe Minoski, and Brian Fuller, who is equally a writer.
He is a very prestigious name.
He is a prestigious name, mostly for starting series and then abandoning them. But he is also he was all the
way through.
Done some Trek work before, Empok Nor, Living Witness, Fury, Course Oblivion, but also was the showrunner, well, at the start anyway, for Star Trek Discovery. So another
for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, for about 5 minutes. Okay, guys, I've got a little quiz for you. So J. Paul Boehmer, who played the Epinus 1 in this episode, can you name me? He played a Nazi officer in Star Trek 3 other times. Can you tell me which 3 episodes they were?
The Killing Game.
Yeah. What was that one instead, Auto?
I don't remember the third one. So Cold Front, Killing Game.
Yep.
Yeah. Another one with the Nazis in it.
I'll take the tiebreaker, and then we can be a good trio, the 3 of us.
I mean, yeah, sure.
He already knows.
This isn't a question.
Where would it be?
Very specifically another Nazi officer.
I'm trying to think of where the other one would be.
Was it the TOS episode?
No.
Baby Nazi J. Paul Boehmer.
No, it was. I'll put you out of your misery. It was 0 Hour, another Enterprise episode, very close to. Yeah, so
memorable.
He played 3.
Oh, that's a 2-parter with Cold Front. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, but he plays a completely different Nazi.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
In all instances, it's just like, this is my thing. He also plays Vornar into the DS9 episode Tacking Into the Wind, and Mistral in Carbon Creek. So he's done a bit of some other stuff. Do you want to go? Because Auto, I can tell you're itching at the bit to talk about the drone. Please go forth.
No, I'm light on background material and such this time. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about him. He was he was so fun to watch in the background. Like most episodes, you're watching, even as you're reviewing, you're watching the people talking because they're going to be the ones generally emoting the most. This reminds me of the time that Shiporn clued us in Disaster at the beginning where they're talking about Molly O'Brien or whatever. And Michael Dorn is in the back playing with his comm badge. I went back and watched that, and he really was chewing the scenery in that. It was good. J. Paul is so much fun to watch when he's in the background because he's doing the data thing. Like he's reacting to what they're saying, but in a very like giant Borg toddler way, and he does an excellent job.
Well, it's very charming as well because it's like the makeup does such a good job of making him seem extremely alien, extremely threatening. He's got that Nazi face. He just has the face. Chin. Yeah. Guess what? Like, no disrespect to him, he seems like a nice guy. And then he just completely undercuts it with great physical acting that is immediately recognizable as Borg through the intense efficiency and like directness, but it has like a degree of innocence to it. Like so much of like the facial movements and the way that he follows has just like that little toddler energy, and it immediately disarms him, and you don't really feel like you're in danger around him, which is like the guy's a 29th century Borg. He's one of the most like terrifying things like theoretically you could potentially encounter if you're like a Starfleet officer, and yet like the instant you see him, like, no, that guy's not dangerous, not really.
I feel like they didn't play that much into it. Like they said, oh, he's got all this 29th century technology, but apart from like just basically the end belly bumping a few Borg about and and then sort of like interfacing with things, it didn't seem like he was. They didn't capitalize on that so much. They could have like come up with some real wizardry, just like out of thin air, just gone like, here's a phaser or something. I don't know.
I mean, he does single-handedly destroy an entire Borg sphere by like beaming on there and then taking control. That is pretty damn impressive, I thought.
And don't forget, he beams himself there because he has that internal transporter node. Yeah. Like fucking, you want to about the 31st century when they've got their comm badges that allow them to beam everywhere they want? He could do that now. Like that's how OP he is.
All right, so Idle, since you brought it up, what kind of Borg parlor tricks could they have sprinkled throughout the episode that he could have done to be like, whoa, that's futuristic?
I don't know, maybe just walk through the walls or something, like just something that, because at this point it's like the science is magic thing, isn't it? Indistinguishable from magic if it's so advanced. I felt like nothing he did was that indistinguishable that made us kind of go like, oh my gosh, this is really futuristic. And it's kind of one of my problems with Discovery a little bit in season 3 and 4 is like, detach nacelles and transport and combat, just but this all sits within the world. I think the closest they get to is the the programmable matter. That feels like that's like proper futuristic stuff. So like he could probably turn around and sort of like phase through the wall, or like just suddenly go like, I can create this through the energy of the air, just something that's just like feels like magic, or as opposed to just like I can do what we already do but better.
See, the problem with that is that like they've already established that the 29th century technology is pretty damn far ahead, like mobile emitters, like time ships, all this kind of stuff. But like even still, it's still within like spitting distance. It's still recognizable as like Starfleet technology. So like I feel like they're just hewing close to that and keeping their own continuity intact. Like the 29th century is pretty far ahead. Like you got Braxton stuff, but even in the 24th century, you can reliably time travel if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So like it's still, I feel like they're just keeping their own continuity at that point. And like, if you did start pulling out like ridiculous parlor tricks, like I'm going to like phase through walls, or I'm going to magic up structures or whatever, like it'd be just a bit
osmosis
much.
Or something like that.
And not to mention, they need to be able to sell the fact that he is a 29th century Borg drone, and he survives at the end, but only just because you have to have a power scaling. We talk about this all the time in like comic books or movies, but like you need to make it within the lore feel like that he is not indestructible, because there needs to be credence to when he says they will keep on coming, and maybe I could survive it, but like how many of you would die in the process? I would not be able to single-handedly stop the entire Borg collective, because that's just ridiculous, and that destroys the entire. Like I feel like it's within keeping that he's not doing ridiculous bullshit all the time.
Future's End
young. I'm sorry.
So young. Future's End is about a third of the way through season 3. So in 4 2/3 seasons.
So young.
It's gonna be one of the worst line reads of all time. So through 4 and 2/3 seasons, how many times has Voyager used his future technology to do anything spectacular other than emit dock in a place? Like they've never used it, right?
I think that's the
Have
only
they
thing
ever
they got
tapped
with it,
into
though.
it?
It was just a mobile emitter. It can't really.
No.
Apart from
Yeah,
Great
but it's
One.
like setting the standard of what
They did
29th century
download-
technology is like.
They did download Seven's like through her cranial implants into Doc's emitter, right? So that's like they
Yeah.
did that with it. So yeah, it doesn't make sense because they never really utilize it. It doesn't make sense for him to do everything with it. That's
And it's
I
also
would've
a case of-
liked-
Oh, there you go.
all right. So we did the belly bump, which I think we thought that was a little silly. What if instead of that he projected 2 holograms of himself?
Yeah.
They attack the drones for him, and then you see it like fizzle out, so you can tell it's a hologram. I think that would be a cool use of.
He could have just jumped
of
into space and just made a starship
magic
around him
tech.
and just gone off. And...
Well, now that's a little too much. Like, if
All
we're
right,
talking
Dragon
power
Ball Z
scaling.
fan.
We're talking power scaling. I think like
No, I need
hologram
integrity
of
in my
himself.
science fiction.
He just wants to do a Kamehameha. Don't pay attention to him. It's also a case of like, yeah, it's 29th century technology, but I feel like it's significant that it is just a mobile emitter.
Yeah.
Like that's the equivalent of like, oh, you get like a piece of technology from like 300 years in the future, but it's just a mobile phone. Yeah, it's really advanced, but it's not like, like it's.
It's like me taking a
There's a
microwave
limit
to the
to how much you
15th
can
century. It can
extrapolate.
make water really hot, but that's about it.
Yeah. And also, good luck getting any power to it.
Yeah.
It's
There's enough
like
potatoes. I'll work it
extrapolating
out.
out.
But we have Borg power nodes now, so I'll take one of those with me too. And
Yeah.
actually, they carried the little generator with them through the ship. Oh no, that was last episode.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was
Yeah.
night. They're still carrying it to
I want
this
to bring
day.
back. I'll bring back a segment, and you guys
Ooh.
can take low hanging fruit if you want. Hero of the episode,
Ooh.
and I'll go last here. So
Oh, wow.
because I think there's two obvious ones. Feel free to take them.
I'll say
Who
7.
stood out?
7.
Yeah.
Definitely hero of this moment episode. Well, Jerry Ryan specifically, I will say, is my hero of this moment because her acting in this was phenomenal. Like, and a lot of it is what we praise Anson Mount for: is the micro acting, it's the little reactions, the expressions. Like, especially in the opening scene where the Doctor comes in and she just looks at him, just like, "Oh God, right, really? You're here." But the other thing, yeah, should be my hero of the episode.
The you're hurting me at the end is like, oh, there's a gut punch. That was the
Yeah.
climax right there.
Yeah. I will not take the other obvious answer, and I'm going to go ahead and say Janeway. I'm going to say Kate Mulgrew.
I thought you were going to say okay.
Okay.
No, what did he do other than like be like a
The villain of the
Friday-
episode, Mulkey?
He was the Friday the 13th like the victim. He's victim number 3 who has an uninspiring death. No, I really appreciate what Mulgrew was doing. Like that scene with her in 1 is just so charming and cute. And I also, yeah, it's very cute. And it also kind of underlies a little bit of like something about Janeway is that she is kind of a wide-eyed idealist in ways like that. She slides back and forth on that scale depending on the episode. But like so often with the Borg and with 7 and everything adjacent to 7, she is a big optimist and idealist of no, you can grow past this, you can become a fully fledged individual in your own right. And seeing that here in full goddamn display, with like a touch almost of naivete, I kind of appreciated seeing that bright-eyed like edge to her, and then immediately followed up with 7 waking up to just the grimmest look after he activates the proximity transceiver. Like, good emotional range on that. She's great in this episode. And I appreciate that moment where she looks at 7 on the bridge, and she can tell that 7, after they think that the sphere is blown up and 1's gone with it, where 7 is frozen, and she gives her a look, and she's like, I want to do something for you right now, but we just had a fight with the Borg cube, and I've got to get everyone organized. Damage control teams.
She
get
missed
sealed
it up
up.
in a moment. Like that's pure Mulgrew.
Yeah, just extreme. Guess what? You can always rely on Mulgrew or Ryan to do something amazing in a Voyager episode. And guess what? They delivered. Otto, your hero of the episode.
It would be Miss B'Elanna Torres. Starting from the beginning, we're fucking creeper Doc. I told you he's a creeper in the later seasons. Pops in while she's naked. She's like, "I'm so sleepy. I can't even be Klingon angry at you right now because I'm so sleepy." throws a towel over him. But she gets all these little quips. Very good. You get a gold star, and a volatile temperament, readily vaporizable at low temperature. Like, she's involved with a lot of the humor on the episode. She does get Klingon angry later, but they play off her very well because she's an established character with established traits, and she displays them as you would expect in this episode. So she doesn't go above and beyond, but I feel like she's kind of the glue for a lot of the interactions.
Yeah, she's a reliably good interactor, and it's like, guess what? I fucking love Roxanne Dawson. She always does great work.
Very good.
I have a question for you two. Like, bearing in mind the Voyager has the reputation of overdoing the Borg a lot, and it's part of the reason that people are kind of sick of the Borg. Do you feel like if you were to kind of strim out a lot of the Borg episodes in Voyager and Star Trek in general, would this make the cut? Would this be one to stay there?
Yes.
This would stay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This would stay. I would happily lose Dark Frontier over this.
Interesting.
Which we will see in a few weeks.
Okay. Yeah, Dark Frontier is okay, but I don't think it holds a candle to this, really.
Okay.
I don't know when we'll get to it. There's an episode. I don't even know how I can describe it. They go to salvage something from a Borg, like debris field or whatever, and we get this. The introduction of the scene is the elevator doors open, and Janeway's standing there with this pose, like she can't be bothered, and she's like, "The Borg," or whatever she says, and it was just so. It was so, or when she said a cube, she says something like she just can't even be bothered to come to the bridge for this minor inconvenience. And I'm like, is this what the Borg has become, where we just get sassy Janeway because she has to deal with them at this moment in time? And I'm like, I feel like I could pinpoint.
Can I get that again? Can I get that again?
No. When we watch the episode, I'll do full mode group.
The Borg.
Right, but I think you can pinpoint the moment where they jump the shark on the Borg, and that scene is where I'm like, okay, if you don't even respect them at all, how are we as a viewer supposed to respect them?
You moron.
Right. That's my hook. Yeah. I'm dancing.
I also, guess what? Like, I feel like if anything, this episode builds up the Borg because a single sphere is built up to be a big fucking deal, and it's a problem. Not even a cube. A sphere is a problem. Like, this does not contribute to Borg decay. This, if anything, shores it up a little bit. It's other episodes that really start to get at that.
Okay, gentlemen, let's go on to Borg. What is your bread of the episode? The moment that stood out to you as something being significant and won't ever leave your mind. Let's start with you, Stars. What was your bread of the episode?
So I quoted it to Auto right before the beginning of the episode, and I don't think you quite caught it, Idle, because
you stole my bread.
Yeah, no, it's because it's such a good line. And I don't think you caught it, Idle, because you don't know this episode as well as me and Auto do. And it's that line read on "I was never meant to be."
Oh yes,
just like that innocence tempered with like, no, I have to die. I can't not die. I have to leave. And just like tragedy, because there's so much more he wants to do and experience, and so much more of a life he wants to lead. And it's like, it's almost overplayed. It's almost a little bit too dramatic. But like the emotion of the scene and the character and the way he's been written and the way he's been performed, you just buy it completely naturalistically, and it just pulls you so into that tragedy. Like it's that line read and look on his face, especially when you follow up with, "You are hurting me," and it's just like, "You will adapt." It just like that quiet tragedy of it all just fucks me up good. It's such a good end. That's my bread.
What's your bread? Auto, what is your bread?
Yeah, I was going to take that, and "You Are Hurting Me" from Jerry Ryan. Yeah. I'll give you two different breads, but they're both the incomparable J. Paul Boehmer. One, when he first starts assimilating the data nodule, and they do the slow zoom on his face, his mouth slowly falls agape, and like the wonder, we can't even imagine what his brain is expanding to in that moment, and he does his best to convey that. And then in the turbo lift, after we get this walk and talk where the Borg are coming, and he's talking to Seven, and he's getting this rush of adrenaline, and you can see he's like excited to meet what everyone else is freaking the fuck out about, but he's really excited because he's feeling things internally that he's never felt before. So great, great acting. He did a lot to convey things wordlessly.
It's good bread.
My bread, definitely that very small shot of Voyager's belly when you got the sphere and the immensity, because you always think of spheres as quite small crafts. Actually, you show it's actually huge. It's like quite a large ship, and it's got its tractor beam locked on. You're looking right up the tailpipe of the Borg cube, the Borg sphere, essentially. And yeah, it's a really nice shot. It doesn't last that long, but it's just like, oh wow, they're doing something different. This is awesome. That stuck with me as a kind of like, wow, we need more shots like this. Go on. Sorry,
I remembered my real bread. I don't mean to run over you. It's the last Landau. It's where they set down the mobile emitter. He walks away, and they get this weird angle, and the back is saw focused. And then you see the little tubules pop out, and one of them pops toward the camera like an optical illusion. I do always remember that the
CG shot is very iconic. Yeah.
Sorry, I
have another bread actually. Is when security's when Tuvok's security team walks down the hallway in perfect lockstep. You kind of get the Guardians of the Galaxy moment as Seven perfectly forms in, and they're ready for action. That was quite good.
It's good shit.
All right, how about
the best advice I can give you is to just be yourself.
You're the worst thing that ever happened to Zek. You're the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Actually, that's the second best piece of advice.
In fact, you're the worst thing that ever happened to the entire Ferengi Alliance.
No.
Okay, best and worst moments, gentlemen. I'm going to kick us off here. I'm going to start with my worst moment. Why the fuck did they put 5 people in a shuttlecraft to go and look at a nebula when they were only spitting distance away from Voyager, and all of a sudden they're in trouble? Like, they're a science ship, and they just go to study this nebula. They send the tiny little shuttlecraft in there, jam everyone on it, and they just go like, we're in trouble. It's like, oh. Maybe we need a better shuttle. Maybe you need to send the actual ship in with all the scanning stuff. That got us just
the point. Yeah, because like in other episodes, they'll like say why they need to send the gravimetric shear is like too much for a big ship. Like a small ship can avoid it more easily, something like that. But they don't even bother to do that here.
They have to do it because the transporter is how they get the accent. I think maybe they could have fixed that by having the shuttle out of range. You're on Voyager, then they just come into range. Mayday, Mayday, and then they beam them up, and that's where the accident happens.
So yeah, that's my worst moment.
And your best moment.
My best moment. Yeah, I think it is going to be the deathbed scene. I think that, and not for. I'm going to discuss this when we kind of get to the overall rating, but not for for J. Paul Boehmer. Sorry to say it, but more for Jerry O'Ryan. Jerry O'Ryan. Jerry O'Ryan.
Oh, Jerry O'Ryan. Oh, you're hurting me, lads.
What does he say? What does he say in Spirit Folk? The lily and the rose are playing a jig on your face. When he says about 7 of 9.
Yeah. Anyway, it's more for her, and like kind of culmination of her arc through this episode was actually really nice. From sort of like kind of loosely played on her discovering her individuality over the line. And again, it's serialization in a show that isn't serialized. If you watch this out of the blue, you'd be like, well, why does this matter? But she develops this relationship very quickly of being the first sort of mothering figure, which she would then develop further on with Naomi Wildman and Icheb to sort of better effect. But I kind of really felt for Seven at the end there, and especially like you said, the hurting me line. So I'm taking that for my best moment. Oh, sorry, go on, Stars. You look like you're on something.
Well, I was going to say, like, I don't think it's to better effect. I think it's just a case of like blown out for more time because this is just a one and done. And I feel like this is a nice microcosm of that because like you say, oh, it doesn't have as much impact if you don't know the wider thing. I think they set it up quite nicely with the full circle shot of her like trying to smile in the mirror. Like even if you've never seen Voyager, that immediately communicates to you who Seven is, that opening scene, and why this entire thing matters. So like I feel like they do a decent job of you could do this as a one and done easily.
Yeah. Best worst.
And your worst moment.
I already said it.
Oh, you said it, yeah.
You did?
Yeah, the guys in the shuttlecraft when they were like spitting distance from
No, I'm
Voyager.
talking to Stars.
No, Stars isn't going yet.
No,
Stars is just articulating.
Hasn't gone. Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
was
thought
just
you were
agreeing
asking
with his
for-
point.
He was
yeah.
commenting.
sorry.
He was reacting. Do your Janeway Burke again and go on.
No.
They're back.
I'll give you two worst. Doc in the shuttlecraft was insufferable. Like they're under duress or whatever. He's like, "Gotta take a group photo." I'm like, "Why don't you shut the hell up? Turn yourself off to save power." That was kind of irritating. And then the walk and talk with Neelix, I wasn't feeling it. Where he was he was daft. He wasn't. It was like he wasn't all there. He didn't quite grasp what was going on. And then that little trope I don't like, where one says his name. And Neelix pretends not to hear, and then they just pivot away in the scene. So like, oh, we're cluing the audience in on what his name is. Those two I didn't love. I'm gonna go way off the beaten track for my best of. And where they take one to astrometrics, and they show him what the Borg are like, and they're playing this like montage of Borg clips, and it reminded me of Encounter at Farpoint, where Riker joins the battle bridge and they play clips of what happened in episode 1. You're like, how are you getting these camera angles? Did you have an ensign with like a GoPro out in a spacesuit taking photos? It's like, how would they have these
There's a
camera
dot.
angles? So that was like low key hilarious to me. It didn't have any impact on anything, but I just really liked that. So
That's your best moment of the entire episode. Incredible.
dude, I could take more best, but I just want to highlight something funny. So
All right, Stars. Best worst.
All right, my best moment has to be 1 and 7 in engineering, because I appreciate like the interplay between the two characters, so their chemistry has been established. The 1-2 punch of 7 saying, "Oh, B'Elanna's got like excellent grasp of Voyager systems, although she's very volatile," and then like, playing on that, B'Elanna's like snap back and forth, her aggravation. And then just J. Paul coming in with like the perfect like denouement where it's just like, I can fix this for you in like 3 seconds. And then she just looks him up and is like, all right. And then he waits for the permission. And then, but the instant he gets the permission, lock the fuck in. He is so ready to show off that he can do it. He's really eager. And it's just like, it's such a well played scene. It's such a, it sells you on the idea that one could potentially be a part of the crew, even though he's not going to be. Worst part of the episode. You already took the bit in the shuttle. Yeah, I think it kind of has to be like Doc in general, just kind of being a bit too obnoxious in this episode.
Oh, dude,
he's dialed he's dialed one bit too high on all the things, like the creepiness. I get why he's. It's
says,
like, well, you do have as you also kind of have a history of being a bit of a sexual, given what we know, what happens with what is it, Body and Soul later on with 7, and you became sexually aroused from my body. Like, you are not beating the allegations here, bro. And then just like in the shuttle being obnoxious, like he claws it back by like with the bit in sickbay where he's talking with one and you kind of expect him to keep on harping on about the emitter, but he ends up like pushing that away and being a bit more about the Starfleet ethos and kind of trying to welcome one onto the crew and telling him the joke that doesn't land. It's like they're clawing it back there, but it's like, yeah, this episode doesn't make Doc look the best. So that'd be my worst.
Oh, I think we've gone around everyone now, haven't we? I'm losing track now. Okay, let's go on to...
I can show you my rating code.
Schiller rating 3.5. Associational rating norm -3. That's much too low a rating.
It's not much too low a rating.
Seeing an unsatisfactory rating on a member of my crew.
So unsatisfactory. Gentlemen and Stars, especially, please, what is our Schiller rating code for this episode?
I'm really happy with this one. I think you both will appreciate it. Gentlemen, how many jaunty pronunciations of Mulcahy's out of 10 would you like to give this episode?
Pronunciation of
there's certain fluctuations of words, as was once said in TNG, that stick in my head. There's Mulcahy. There's in the pilot where Janeway says, "Who are the Clazon Ogla?" because she flubbed the line and they didn't retake it. That like lives in my head. There's these little Mulcahy.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna go first here. I'm gonna step in because you guys are gonna basically take
We're
a
gonna
running
talk
punch.
for the next 40 minutes. Guys.
Yeah, you're gonna take a running punch at my opinion in a minute. But I thought this episode was okay. I found one a little bit too Crichton-like. If you've ever watched Red Dwarf, or very much
My
like
sprinkler
beep, boop.
goes like
Why have you done this?
and comes back like T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T.
Well, that's one way to get me to shut up.
This is your punishment. You're going to give this an unsatisfactory rating.
There we go.
And I'm
right.
not here for it.
No, I found one a little bit too much beep boop beep robot-like. Very much sort of.
Fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You guys take a running punch at my argument here. He was. And again, I felt like this association between his technology and what should be science is magic, and I kind of also think as well, like, this could have been the Icheb relationship because it needed to be fleshed out more. This needed to be a season. And again, I had the same conversation about Night as well. Like, these are concepts that need a lot more expanding. And they kind of have already done this story, and they kind of have done it better with Borg. Essentially, a Borg freed from the collective that gets a sense of it, gets to be taught what individuality is, except without this sort of impending threat from a sphere approaching. But you do have the same kind of tropes and the burgeoning friendship that develops between Hugh and Geordie, and again later on in Descent and what will come into Picard season 1. So I felt like this was kind of treading old ground. Again, I wasn't as sold on 1 as you guys were, and I wasn't as emotionally invested at the end on his side. I was on 7's side. It felt more real to her because we know the history, but I wasn't as sold. That being said, I did enjoy the episode. I did have a lot of fun watching it. Doc was creepy. I'm gonna give this a 7. It was enjoyable, above average Voyager episode that maybe just needed a little bit more time in the oven. Why am I wrong? Stars.
The thing is, I've seen Red Dwarf, and I know what Crichton is like, and like, my bro, you could not be more wrong.
I don't know,
this is not
felt
Crichton.
Very like, just not the way he spoke, the way he moved was the thing that got me.
Yeah, no, how dare anyone do any kind of physical body acting on this show, right? Fuck that guy. I pre-rated this 8, I think.
8.5.
8.5. I'm going to bump this up. I think that I knew I was going to bump it up, but I wasn't quite sure how much by. I'm going to give this a 9.2 jaunty pronunciations of Mulcahy's out of 10. The emotional core is absolutely there. It's elevated by a really strong physical performance by Boma and guess what? A typically brilliant Jerry Ryan performance. Yeah. Everyone else hits their notes perfectly. There's a few bum notes here and there, mostly with Doc, but otherwise it completely landed for me. Like, it's memorable. It of all the Voyager episodes, this is probably one of the ones that when I think of the tapestry of Voyager and 7's like journey, this comes to mind almost immediately as a big moment for her. And like you say, oh, this gets fleshed out later, and that's the point. It's introducing this as a concept for 7 that will grow out and makes it a lot more credible that she would want that kind of relationship and be willing to foster it and go for it in the future episodes. So,
sorry, chat said something hilarious.
Jerry O'Ryan.
Kenny O'Ryan.
Hold on, I'll text to speech it so we can hear his. Overtired says, "Why is Idol wrong? Because he thinks her name is Jerry O'Ryan."
Oh, beautiful. But yeah, 9.2 at me. Otto, what is your rating for this episode? What's your Schiller rating?
I will tell you partly why you're wrong, Idol. Because you said that's what they should have done with...
That was a rhetorical question, by the way.
Yeah, no, too late. That's what they should have done with Icheb. Well, Icheb's failings, their failings in his episodes, have no impact on how good this was in this episode. So, you know. But other than that, you're totally entitled to your opinion. This is not a 10. I thought it might be a 10. The last 10 minutes of this are so sublime. I'll stack them up against anything, from the walk and talk to the tension of the Borg to the great graphics to selling how powerful this force is. He enhances things. He gets real serious, delivers some great line reads when he enhances the "you may fire," and he's getting angry almost. He beams aboard, does some cool science bullshit, and then the huge emotional payoff at the end. Him and Jerry are both fantastic. So it's like, man, everything's really clicking. But I checked the timestamp while watching this, and you can't do that on a 10. We're about halfway in, and I'm like, I'm getting we're wandering a little. And I understand why they had to do that exposition. Surely they could have tightened a few things up there. And it just wasn't quite clicking. But in most other respects, other than some of the early pacing, I think they just nailed it. I love that scene, the book report, where it reminded me of actually where Q Jr. shows up and actually reads a book report to Janeway.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's very earnest. And then he leaves, and we come to the realization that Seven is a much better mother than Janeway ever was. Like, in a few days, she has whipped this Borg into shape, and Seven is still bucking her years and years later. So that was just a funny little dynamic. But I love this episode. It has a place in my heart and my head when I think stray thoughts about Star Trek from time to time. I think about that scene. And this is actually one of the benefits of having watched things before. I know what I will take away and remember from the episode. And I'm not going to remember Doc creeping on B'Elanna. I forgot that ever happened. I won't remember Neelix being kind of a pest. I'll remember him going, he will become what we help him to become. Oh, how Starfleet of you. And that little back and that funny banter. I'll remember the funny parts and the emotional parts. I won't remember the bad parts because I haven't yet. So I'm sorry for being long-winded. I'm going to give this 9.7 jaunty. Okay, he's out of 10. I do thoroughly enjoy it. I do remember it all the time. It's very memorable for me. And I think because I grew up on this era of Voyager and UPN in my household, I may overrate some of these, but hey, that's why we're all here. So.
Guess what? No rating is objective. That's why that's why we're having fun with them. That's why they're different.
Jerry O'Ryan.
She's famous last in all of your Voyager town. 8.6 is where we rate this episode. Sorry, I brought you down, but it's a fair and equitable system, which puts this just underneath Ad Astra per Aspera and just above Yesteryear in that kind of area, better than Where No Man Has Gone Before. Not as good as Phage, another Voyager contemporary.
Phage was really fucking good.
Phage was really
good.
This didn't really have the super tight script that, so we watched Night right before this. There was not a wasted scene in that entire episode, and there were a few dull moments in this one. So.
Well, thank you all for watching. If you're watching live, we'll be off now. If keep an eye out in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with the next episode. Oh, we can actually tell you what the next episode is going to be. Otto, what is the following episode of Voyager Season 5 in our Summer of Voyager?
Good one. Up next, Extreme Risk, and then In the Flesh, because we are going in order. Extreme Risk.
I'm giving you my pre-rating right now. It's a 10 out of 10. Extreme Risk is a 10 out of 10.
Whoa, now.
It is.
Stop playing trade.
There's a scene in there which I cannot wait to break down. Oh,
awesome.
Here's the thing. I don't know if B'Elanna is my favorite Voyager character, but she easily has some of my favorite Voyager episodes. I love her fucking episodes. So,
on that note, we'll see you next time. Live long, prosper, and ta-ra.